This is the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
I'm Stephen A.
Whoa! Guess who's back, ladies and gentlemen? Guess who's back? It's your boy. It's your boy. What's going on, y'all? Welcome to the latest edition of the Stephen A. Smith Show. Coming at you as I love to do every weekday over the national airwaves of ESPN Radio and ESPN News, 250 plus markets across the United States of America. Check your AM, FM listing nearest you. The number to call up as always is 888-SAY-ESPN. That's 888-729-3776. Notice the weeks that I've been gone, I still have that to memory, y'all. I haven't forgot. Again, number to call up as always is 888-SAY-ESPN. That's 888-729-3776. The Stephen A. Smith Show is being brought to you by My Computer Career. Training for a better life. Time for Straight Talk, brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless. I am coming at you live from New Orleans, Louisiana, Nolens, Louisiana. I always feel good when I'm on the road, on remote, and all of that other stuff. I always got the cops, the police officers taking care of me, protecting me. Nobody can touch me, okay? Touch me at your own peril. Yeah, they got my back. That's number one. Number two, I'm going to get into a lot of football talk, but I just wanted to give you a heads up. Obviously, I've been off the air for several weeks, Christmas holidays, then the new year and what have you. And y'all have seen a lot of the reports and what have you. Listen, I'm always going to be around. Obviously, I'm here with ESPN for years to come. There is a new role that's taking place in my life. I still will be doing First Take. I'll be on the radio an awful lot, particularly during this time slot, because a lot of First Take is going to be on these airwaves as well. So I'm not disappearing by any stretch of the imagination. But in terms of hosting the Stephen A. Smith radio show every weekday from 1 to 3 p.m., this will be my last week. Again, you will hear from me pretty much on a weekly basis because I like to invade. They call, I answer the call. And damn it, even when they don't call, sometimes I'm just in the mood to call in. So that's what the hell I do, okay? So I'm definitely going to do that. Obviously, First Take and a lot of the takes that take place during First Take will be permeating these airwaves at this particular moment in time as well. But in terms of me hosting the show live, this is my last week. And as a result, and the reason why it's my last week is because I asked to come back because I wanted an opportunity to communicate with my callers, my listeners throughout the week, just to thank y'all for y'all support. There's a lot of great things that have happened in my career that are continuing to happen in my career. And the reality of the situation, all joking aside, support that all of you out there have given me throughout the years. I deeply appreciate it. I'll never forget it. They obviously, with everything happening in my career, listen, I might be back. I might get tired of deferring to my takes on First Take and just calling. And I might get tired of listening to somebody else for those 2 hours that I'm accustomed to having on a daily basis. I might get tired of listening to other people. Okay? And I might sit up there and say, yo, bounce out, Norby, Pataro, Connor, Dave. I need to come back. I might do that, y'all. But with First Take, with my new NBA show that comes on every Wednesday, that there's a 7:30 game. My NBA show is from 7 to 7:30, leading into those NBA games. Personally, I wish I had more time. I'm getting tired of being bounced out because it's a 7 o'clock game or an 8 o'clock game. I wish I was on every damn Wednesday. That's just me. But also things that I'm doing with ESPN Plus, Disney Plus as well. That is why you have not heard me on these airwaves in this particular time slot. That is why after this week, you will not hear me hosting this. But I promise you, I will be very present. I will be over the ESPN radio airwaves an awful lot. Of course, I will be on television a lot. I will not disappear. And I just wanted to take this week to just be on the airwaves, extending my gratitude to all the listeners out there who made the Stephen A. Smith radio show so popular and so successful. But to let you know, I'm not disappearing. I'm just moving, and I'm doing things that obviously ESPN has asked me to do. I'm going to be here for years to come. Okay, so I just wanted to let everybody know that. This week, let's get this party started. You got 5 days, got 10 hours over the course of those 5 days to get into the kind of stuff that I want to get into. So let's start right now. Let's say this. I want everybody to know that I got on my knees and prayed yesterday. And I didn't get on my knees and pray just because it was Sunday and I'm a Christian. I didn't get on my knees and pray because I was some heathen, even though I do have heathenist tendencies from time to time. I didn't get on my knees and pray because of those reasons. I got on my knees and I prayed because I said, good Lord have mercy. Please don't have me looking at Ryan Tannehill versus Kirk Cousins in the Super Bowl. Don't do that to me. Don't do that to me. And the Lord answered at least one of my prayers thus far by getting rid of Kirk Cousins. That's one down. We got another to go. Right? Cause listen, Tennessee, Derrick Henry is my brother. I got mad love for this dude. He is an absolute stud. Vrabel is an exceptional coach. I think he has proven to be that. He's certainly better than what Bill O'Brien for the Houston Texans has shown, and I'll get into that in just a second. But just to make sure that we are very, very clear, the Tennessee Titans, they are no joke. They are rough riders. They can defend. They have a running game. They have an impressive offensive line blocking for Derrick Henry. They milk the clock. They chop you down. And they soften you up as the game progresses because Derrick Henry doesn't dissipate or diminish in terms of his quality of play. As the game progresses, he gets even stronger and even better. He took a grown man, Earl Thomas, and just shoved him aside and turned him around like he was a piece of paper. That's that Derrick Henry, who rushed 30 times for 195 yards. The third consecutive game that he's ran for over 180 yards. And to see the potential or to recognize the fact that this brother could be in the Super Bowl, he would deserve all the accolades, all the credit in the world. But Derrick Henry, my brother, I love him because I love me some Alabama, and that's where he came from, and I know the brother can ball. The bottom line is, Derrick Henry, if you're somewhere listening, please forgive me, my man, because I got nothing but love you. I don't want to see you in the Super Bowl. I'm going to be the first to admit it. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm just going to get it out the way. Because after we saw what we saw last year, I believe the final score of the Super Bowl between the New England Patriots and the Los Angeles Rams was like 13-3. I'll be damned if I want to see another Super Bowl like that. I want to see some offense. I want to see excitement. I want to be thrilled. I want sensational performances. I want all of that. And we all know, anybody with two eyes knows, Patrick Mahomes can be that dude. We thought that before yesterday. But my God, after what we saw yesterday, as we sit here today, courtesy of watching the Kansas City Chiefs drop 51 on the Houston Texans, courtesy of watching Patrick Mahomes complete 23 of 35 passes for 321 yards, 5 touchdown passes. They're down 24-0 at the beginning of the second quarter, ladies and gentlemen. And the Kansas City Chiefs explode and score 41 unanswered points. 41. That's what we saw. We saw my brother from another mother, Travis Kelce, who is the ultimate decision maker. Y'all figure out why I say that. That dude, Travis Kelce, was targeted 12 times, caught 10 passes. 10 passes. And oh, by the way, not only did he catch 10 passes, okay, let's be very, very clear about what we saw. Not only did Travis Kelce catch 10 passes, I think it was like around 134 yards or so, but this dude was targeted 12 times. The other 2 passes he dropped. If Travis Kelce had caught the other 2 passes, he'd have scored 12 passes, 12 targets. They couldn't stop him. For some reason, Bill O'Brien didn't want to double him until it was too late. And then even after that, you're getting caught for holding penalties while double covering him with a bad hamstring. And just take a look at the weapon. Just imagining what you're seeing, ladies and gentlemen, because we got to pay attention to porn star Jimmy now. Jimmy Garoppolo with the San Francisco 49ers. And oh, by the way, that's not necessarily an insult, but it is appropriate to call him porn star Jimmy. I'm not going to let y'all forget that I called him that. It wasn't me. Ain't nobody telling his business. He told his business. Went out with a porn star in Hollywood with paparazzi's watching. Clearly Clearly he wanted us to know. Wasn't hiding it. That's why I call him Porn Star Jimmy. Because clearly that's what he wanted to be known as. But having said all of that, he's no scrub. But if you look at the San Francisco 49ers, particularly in the aftermath of what they did to the Minnesota Vikings, you saw Bosa and Buckner and the rest of the crew with that front four get after Kirk Cousins. You saw Richard Sherman lead that secondary. You saw their running game. You saw that Garoppolo could throw the football. You see the play calling of head coach Kyle Shanahan. And when you look at the complete package that is the San Francisco 49ers, and there is no denying that John Lynch has done a phenomenal job along with Kyle Shanahan in building this roster. If you look at what they've done and you see what they're doing, ladies and gentlemen, I don't think Green Bay has enough for them. I don't think the Tennessee Titans with a running game trying to soften you up has got enough weapons for them. Remember, San Francisco doesn't have to blitz to get to you. They don't need to do that to get to you. They got an elite front four. They got an elite secondary. They can run the football. You got an elite play caller. They got cats like Deebo Samuel, arguably the best tight end in football, and George Kittle. Emmanuel Sanders, an experienced veteran receiver. You got Mostert, Tevin Coleman in the backfield. They don't have any weaknesses. They don't have any weaknesses. And so to me, when I look at the San Francisco 49ers, I don't see anybody being able to get in their way but an explosive juggernaut of an offense in the Kansas City Chiefs led by Patrick Mahomes, who's going to sit up there and say to you what Deshaun Watson should have said to Kansas City and Patrick Mahomes yesterday. I don't play defense. I can't stop y'all, but I'll be damned if you're going to stop me. Now, when you talk about a Super Bowl, think about it for a second here. Ain't that what you want to see? You folks putting in your 9 to 5, working your tail off, sitting up there and exhausting yourself, spending your money, your time. You're those great police officers over there guarding me. You sitting up there putting yourself at risk every day, and then you want to lay back and have a good time and see something to entertain yourself. You really want to see San Francisco trollop Tennessee? Because that's what would happen. That's what would happen. We're praying that Aaron Rodgers is that bad man that he is this coming Sunday. Because that's what it's going to take for the game to be respectable. If Aaron Rodgers doesn't bring his A game, Green Bay is getting blown out of the Bay Area. You might as well toss them in the Pacific with those great whites hanging around the Bay Bridge. Because they're going to sink like a Titanic, or they're going to get eaten alive. They've got no shot without Aaron Rodgers bringing his A game. There's only one hope. There's only one hope for some competitive football to take place in this upcoming Super Bowl near South Beach. That's Patrick Mahomes against those San Francisco 49ers. It's the only shot. Ladies and gentlemen, it's the only shot. I'm going to tell you something right now. Now, it ain't pay-per-view. It's on network television, the Super Bowl, that is. So, therefore, you ain't got to worry about spending your money. You already got a TV set, you'll be all right. But the reality is this. If you are a football fan and you want to be interested in the Super Bowl, and you want suspense and thrill, and you want a championship matchup of epic proportion, similar to what we expect to see tonight in New Orleans at the Mercedes-Benz Dome, aka the Superdome, with the undefeated, reigning, defending national champion Clemson Tigers going up against that undefeated squad with the reigning Heisman Trophy winner in Joe Burrow and the LSU Tigers. I got news for you. If you want the Super Bowl to resemble what we expect to see tonight, and there is no reason to believe that we are not going to see a sensational thriller tonight for the national championship. You want to see that in the Super Bowl? We got to have Patrick Mahomes up in there against San Francisco. Now, I understand the caveat could be, what if Aaron Rodgers reaches into his bag and brings his A game? What if that happens, Stephen A? True that.
That's not a bad consolation prize, but make no mistake, it's consolation prize. You want to see Patrick Mahomes against Aaron Rodgers? Well, I would want to see Aaron Rodgers too if Aaron Rodgers had Tyreek Hill and McCole Hardman and Sammy Watkins and Damian Williams and Travis Kelce. Hell yeah, with Andy Reid calling the plays. Hell yeah, I'd want to see Aaron Rodgers if he had those weapons, but he doesn't. Guess who has them? Kyle Shanahan in San Francisco. Because I got news for you. Deebo Samuel can ball. George Kittle is a baller. Him and Travis Kelce are the two best tight ends in football. I don't want to hear Mark Andrews after what happened in Baltimore Saturday. I like him. He's good. But he ain't George Kittle or Travis Kelce. So when you're looking at what you really, really want to see, this is what it comes down to, ladies and gentlemen. This is what it comes down to. Major props to Tennessee. I don't want to see him in this Super Bowl. And I shouldn't be saying that because I'm probably jinxing Kansas City by saying it. But damn it, I'm going to say it anyway. This is Stephen A. Smith Show. I'm going to let you know how I feel. I don't want to see Tennessee in here. You know how much I love Aaron Rodgers. You know how much I believe in him. When everybody was talking about him like trash, I was the one on the air screaming last week, he's a bad man. He's going to reach in his bag. And sure enough, he did. But I don't want to see that more than I want to see San Francisco because I don't believe that Green Bay is the complete package of a team that the San Francisco 49ers are. It's in the Bay. I don't think they'll get blown out like 38-7 like they did in week 12 against against San Francisco, but I do believe Green Bay is going to lose this game. I do believe they should lose this game because they ain't the best team and they don't have home field advantage. It ain't at Lambeau Field. They ain't playing in a frozen tundra, even though it gets cold in Northern California. It don't get that kind of cold. It don't get 13, 15, and 21 below. This is the Bay Area. You the San Francisco 49ers, you're the complete team. The only thing I'm praying for more than San Francisco versus Kansas City is that this ain't a replica of 2006, I believe, when Peyton Manning won his first Super Bowl beating the Chicago Bears. If you remember, it was raining terribly. The only good thing about that weather, that rain, is that the minute it started thundering, like I'm talking about torrential rains, right around that time, Prince started singing Purple Rain. God bless his soul. Prince was a halftime performer that game. I was there, and he started singing Purple Rain right around the time it started coming down heavy. That's the only reason. That's the only thing good about that weather. That Prince was there to sing while it was raining. Outside of that, what a garbage Super Bowl. Because the conditions molded. So I'll be praying for nice weather. Sunshine. I don't want any excuses. You're slipping. The football field is like mud. It's hard for you to hold on to the football. If you really think about it, whoever talks about that Super Bowl? Think about that. Peyton Manning wins his first Super Bowl over Chicago in that weather. Whoever talks about it? I'm down here in New Orleans. We know it's the lone Super Bowl that Drew Brees and Sean Payton have had, but weather conditions wasn't a problem that day. And New Orleans won the Super Bowl. Conditions, better team won. With inclement weather, it camouflages everything. That's the problem. And you don't want that to be an excuse for this upcoming Super Bowl. So in my opinion, you should want Patrick Mahomes against porn star Jimmy and the San Francisco 49ers. And may the best team win. That's what you should want. Kyle Shanahan play calling against Andy Reid's play calling. Even though Eric Bieniemy, a black man who happens to be the offensive coordinator but doesn't have play calling duties, I saw him yesterday calling some plays en route to them scoring 51 points, 41 unanswered. I saw that yesterday. 5 head coaches in the National Football League. 5 head coaching jobs. Not a single one of them went to a black dude. But to be fair, there's a black dude that's a defensive coordinator of the Houston Texans. He might have to go. It ain't just about color. You got to produce. And if you don't produce, somebody else got to replace you. Romeo Crennel, the defensive coordinator for the Houston Texans, your defense looked petrified. When Patrick Mahomes and them boys got rolling, y'all looked like y'all wanted to run back to Houston. It was that bad. It was that embarrassing. And as far as I'm concerned, it's not that Bill O'Brien hasn't won. He's won 3 division titles in 5 years. But the bottom line is you've never gone past the divisional playoff round. You're 0-4 in those rounds. We know you ain't going any further than that. And I don't give a damn about Deshaun Watson's support of Bill O'Brien. The man gave up 41 unanswered points. No answer. Oh, no. Hell no. Change got to be made. Change got to be made when something like that happens. Plain and simple. But Patrick Mahomes is something special. But I got news for you. That offense is something special. These brothers are prolific, and San Francisco is no joke. If you want a thrilling Super Bowl, and that's what matters to you, you should be rooting for San Francisco versus Kansas City. Otherwise, chances are you're going to see a lopsided Super Bowl. You're not going to see a thriller. I'm just letting you know that right now. 888-SAY-ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. That was Straight Talk Wireless. Everything for less, only at Walmart. We'll get into some more football talk. My man Ryan Clark is coming on the show in a few minutes or so. Paul Finebaum, the mouth of the South, he's coming on to talk about this national championship game tonight on ESPN. LSU, practically a damn home game for crying out loud. They are in New Orleans. It's a road game for Clemson. But you are the reigning, defending national champions. Excuse me. Prove your mettle. Handle your business anyway. So what? It's a road game. Figure it out. Oh, by the way, Leonard Fournette for the Jacksonville Jaguars, who once started at LSU with the Tigers, who went in 2015, rushed for 1,953 yards on 300 carries. That dude came on First Take this morning and called Trevor Lawrence, the quarterback for Clemson, sunshine. He called them sunshine. Y'all have any idea how disrespectful that is? He said that's what they call him, Trevor Lawrence. Sunshine, because of the long blonde hair that'll put most models to shame. He called him sunshine. The reigning defending national champion quarterback was called sunshine by LSU. Trevor Lawrence, handle your business. Handle your business. They tried to call you out like that. Dabo Sweeney. Your brother Stephen A. Smith picked y'all for a change. My first time in 5 years, I picked Clemson. Dabo's gotten on me about that for years. I finally picked Clemson to win the national championship. Yes, I did. Because I want to see what Joe Burrow does under duress. We'll find out and more in a minute. My man Ryan Clark's coming up. Your phone calls throughout the show. This is my last week with y'all, solo hosting my show. Call in. Love y'all. I'm here. And I'm going to be here every day until Friday. Don't touch that dial. Keep it locked in. Pick up the phone and call your boy, Stephen A. Right here with the Stephen A. Smith Show. ESPN Radio, ESPN News. Back with more in a minute.
This human resources professional is a rock star thanks to Kronos. And this is her hype song.
I'm the spark before the fire. I'm the power in the train.
Have HR, payroll, talent, and time.
I'm the dream and you should know that.
Now we're engaging all the best people.
Kronos, HR solutions for the modern workforce and the people who support them. Learn more at kronos.com/HR swagger.
Let's face it, most New Year's resolutions are hard to keep. Get more exercise, save more money. Well, here's a resolution that's easy to keep. Don't waste time going to the post office. Use Stamps.com instead. Stamps.com brings all the services of the post office to you. Plus, Stamps.com gives you something you can't get at the post office. Big discounts on postage, like 5 cents off every first-class stamp and up to 40% off priority mail. Print official U.S. postage from your computer for any letter, package, or class of mail anywhere you want to send. Once your mail is ready, just hand it to your mail carrier or drop it in a mailbox. It's that simple. No wonder over 700,000 small businesses already use Stamps.com. So, give yourself a resolution you can actually keep this year. Save time and money with Stamps.com. Right now, get a special offer that includes a 4-week trial, plus free postage and digital scale, with no long-term commitments and no risk. That's Stamps.com. Click on the microphone at the top of the homepage and type in code FAN. Stamps.com. Promo code FAN. Stamps.com. Never go to the post office again.
You're listening to the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
Ha-ha! Welcome back, Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio, ESPN News. By the way, did you know Hulu paid Todd Gurley and his hashtag cat
influencer named Mr. Hulu has live sports. A lot of money to tell you that Hulu has live sports. But guess what? What they didn't get paid to tell you is that on top of live channels, you can access Hulu's entire streaming library with tons of the hottest shows and movies and exclusive originals. You'll never want to turn off your TV. Start your free trial today. Live TV plan required. Restrictions apply. Learn more at Hulu.com. The very last week of Stephen A. Smith hosting the Stephen A. Smith Show right here on ESPN Radio and ESPN News, I'd be remiss if I didn't have on my protege, my brother, an outstanding NFL analyst for the family, ESPN. Matter of fact, I think the only thing wrong with him in life is two things. Number one, that he was once a Washington Redskin for some inexplicable reason. And number two, he's going to sit up there acting like he's security for the LSU Tigers. You know what I'm saying? Because he starred at LSU, and now anybody who goes against LSU, something must be wrong with them. I'm talking about my brother, the one and only Ryan Clark is on the line. What's up, big boy? How you doing, man?
Hey, I just had to make sure you knew security was watching you. That's all. You need to know Leonard Fournette.
I just want to know, if, are you ready to admit, come on, tell the truth, Ryan Clark, LSU grad, LSU Tiger, all this. You a little bit scared tonight. Ain't you? You scared about LSU against Clemson?
Fear.
Zero?
Stephen A., I got no fear.
Come on.
I just don't. Listen, you knew coming into this thing that you were going to have to face Ohio State or Clemson. The thing we got to do, we just had to beat one of them. We are prepared for this. The one thing we've been in games like this. We've been in fights. You had to go to Texas and win early when they were playing well. You went to Tuscaloosa and you beat Alabama and Nick Saban. When you could do those things, you are prepared for the fight. And also, we got an underdog team, right? Our coach was an underdog. Nobody wanted him, Stephen A. Everybody wanted Tom Herman. Everybody wanted Jimbo Fisher. They said we settled on Coach Orgeron. So he's fighting for himself. He's fighting for this state. He's fighting for that team. Joe Burrow, this is the guy that had to transfer. Couldn't start over J.T. Barrett. Couldn't start over Dwayne Haskins. Had to leave his home state and come and find a new home. And so every day, these type of men are proving something. And this will be the last time they had to prove it this year.
Ryan Clark, may I interrupt this emotional pom-pom diatribe that you're going on right now and ask you a real football question, because it does air on ESPN tonight. It's a national championship game, 2 14-0 teams. The LSU Tigers clearly the number one team in the nation, the way that they have looked this season, going up against the reigning, defending national champion Clemson Tigers. Let me ask you this question from strictly a football perspective. You've seen LSU's defense. You've seen Alabama drop to 41 of them. You've seen them give up 38 on a couple of occasions to other teams. Why do you believe, other than the emotional pom-poms, just football, why will LSU beat Clemson tonight in your estimation?
I believe this team is improved. I believe in Queen and Phillips. We have linebackers that could go side to side. No, they're going to have to make sure they can get ATN on the ground and tackle him. You look at Higgins and Ross, and I'm going to simplify this. They do tall wide receiver things. These aren't great route runners. These aren't guys who get in and out of cuts abruptly. What they do is get down the field and catch 50-50 balls. And Derek Stingley Jr., we got the best 50-50 ball catcher in college football at the right corner. And Christian Fulton is going to be a guy who gets drafted in the first 3 rounds of the NFL draft come April. And so when you have those type of guys on the outside, what Clemson does well from a passing standpoint doesn't scare me. Now, I do believe they'll score points, and they can get in the 30s. I also believe Clemson has not seen an offense as versatile, as aggressive as they'll see tonight. And finding somewhere for Isaiah Simmons to play. If you put him over Justin Jefferson in the slot, he is going to get killed. And I also believe Joe Burrow being 17 touchdowns and 1 interception when being blitzed will have Brett Venables, the defense coordinator of Clemson, guessing on when he can and cannot bring pressure. I just think this is a different animal for what Clemson has seen. And for us, I believe we've been in games with teams just as good.
Ryan Clark, NFL analyst extraordinaire for ESPN, former LSU Tiger, here in the house for the national championship game tonight. He's live with yours truly right here on the Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio, ESPN News. Ryan, I don't know if anybody's asked you this question. I don't want to go the route transitioning to the NFL, mind you, just talking about the greatness of Patrick Mahomes per se, because we know it was phenomenal what we saw from him yesterday. We get all of that. What I'm interested in knowing, Ryan, is this. This is a dude that was the 10th overall pick. It was either 8 or 10. I think it was 10 where Kansas City grabbed him, okay? Clearly, Andy Reid saw something in him that other people may not have seen or what have you. I didn't see this in college. He wasn't coming out of college. Nobody was talking. How are you this great on the NFL level after we hadn't seen that on the collegiate level? As a Super Bowl champion and a former NFL player, could you explain to me how that happens, how somebody could be so great on an NFL level that on a collegiate level?
Yeah, I think Andy Reid's a large part of that. We've seen him be successful with the Cobbs and with the Vicks, and obviously McNabb, who was a great talent. And now you go to Kansas City, we watched him with Alex Smith have his best years, and now Patrick Mahomes. So that helps. I talked to John Fox in the green room about this exact same thing, because if you remember, he was in Chicago when they drafted Mitchell Trubisky. And I was like, Coach Fox, how could you pass on Patrick Mahomes? He gets drafted at number 10. He said, Ryan, when we watched him work out, we saw all of these things. You saw the arm strength. You saw this talent. He said what he was nervous about was, even though he had all those things, you didn't necessarily see the success at Texas Tech, which is what you were talking about as well.
Right.
And so I think Andy Reid saw all those same things Coach Fox saw, but he felt like he was smart enough and good enough to coach him up and get him in the right positions. And then you couple the talent and Andy Reid with what they have from a skill talent perspective, and it's just the perfect storm to see a guy do exactly what Patrick Mahomes is doing, which is something I don't believe we have seen in this league before.
Ryan Clark, when I look at Patrick Mahomes, and then I take into account the requisite weapons he has available to him, a Tyreek Hill, a Sammy Watkins, a Travis Kelce, top 2 tight end in all of football, obviously Damian Williams, this kid McCole Hardman is no joke either, et cetera, et cetera. Based on the dominance I see San Francisco being capable of on the defensive side of the ball, I think the only hope to avoid a blowout in the Super Bowl is for Patrick Mahomes to be opposite San Francisco. Because as much as I'm impressed by the Tennessee Titans, I don't want to see them against San Francisco, because I don't think a running back, even as great as Derrick Henry is and has been, is going to be enough to stop and offset what San Francisco has to throw at you right now. Your thoughts about that?
Yeah, I think, I don't want to discredit the Titans, because I think what the Titans could do is ugly the game up enough to where it stays close. But when you look at Patrick Mahomes in Kansas City, isn't that the matchup we want to see, though?
Yeah.
You want to see this great defense and this great front and see, can it be toppled or can it be bested by Patrick Mahomes, this talent, and Andy Reid? You also want to know, can the Kansas City defense step up enough to stop the run when playing against San Francisco? So I believe that game is the perfect storm from a matchup perspective. And you've been covering sports so long, Stephen A. Sometimes it's about the matchup. It's the matchup that makes things exciting. And when you look at the San Francisco 49ers, I don't believe this team is beat by anyone but the Kansas City Chiefs in the 2020 playoffs.
Ryan Clark, appreciate you, man. Thanks a lot. By the way, do you give Green Bay any chance against San Francisco?
I do, but the bad man, Aaron Rodgers, that you kind of talked about this morning on First Take, has to go back to being the even badder man of years past, or that team does not have a chance.
Do you give Tennessee a chance against Kansas City?
I do. We've seen Tennessee beat them already, and early on in the year they beat them by running and keeping Patrick Mahomes on the sideline. I believe that run game is better right now, and the offensive line, they got to keep it close enough to give Ryan Tannehill an opportunity late to make the plays we saw him make early on this season when they were able to win.
I want to let you go, Ryan, right now, and I want to let you go because I'm going to be dealing with you tomorrow, because you're going to be a very depressed individual. And I want to be there for you because I'm your boy. I just want to be there for you, but there's no way in hell I was picking LSU with you and Swagoo. They're torturing me this season the way that y'all have. You go down tonight. You go down tonight, Ryan Clark.
With friends like you, who needs interviews? But don't worry about it, man. When I call you tonight a little bit after midnight, you just make sure you pick this phone up.
I'll go pick it up, man. Thanks a lot, bro. Appreciate you, man.
All right.
The one and only Ryan Clark right here with Stephen A. ESPN Radio, ESPN News. So proud of that, brother. He does a really, really great job for us. He really, really does. Just an outstanding NFL analyst, and obviously knows his college football, playing for LSU, starring for LSU right here. He was right here with Stephen A. and ESPN Radio, ESPN News. 888-SAY-ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. By the way, Straight Talk Wireless runs on the same 4G LTE network
half the cost. Get the unlimited plan with up to 25 gigs of high-speed data, then 2G for just $25 a month. No contract, straight talk wireless, only at Walmart. Also, ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance. Drivers who switch and save pay an average of $796 less per year. Call or click today and find out if we could save you hundreds on your car insurance. 888-SAY-ESPN. More of the Stephen A. Smith Show coming your way before Paul Finebaum comes on the show, the Mouth of the South, starting off hour number 2. See, I'm in such a festive mood. I'm letting Paul Finebaum on my show. Could you believe it? Back with more in a minute. Here's the Select Quote term life insurance difference. Most companies give you one option, one policy, one rate. But Select Quote shops and gets you up to 10 options from highly rated life insurers. For a free personalized quote, call 1-800-601-6992 or go to selectquote.com.
Hey, I'm Andy. If you don't know me, it's probably because I'm not famous. But I did start a men's grooming company called Harry's. The idea for Harry's came out of a frustrating experience I had buying razor blades. Most brands were overpriced, overdesigned, and out of touch. At Harry's, our approach is simple. Here's our secret. We make sharp, durable blades and sell them at honest prices for as low as $2 each. We care about quality so much that we do some crazy things, like buy a world-class German blade factory. Obsessing over every detail means we're confident in offering a 100% quality guarantee. Millions of guys have already made the switch to Harry's, so thank you if you're one of them. And if you're not, we hope you give us a try with this special offer. Get a Harry's starter set with a 5-blade razor, weighted handle, shave gel, and a travel cover, all for just $3 plus free shipping. Just go to harrys.com and enter 8000 at checkout. That's harrys.com, code 8000. Enjoy.
Your home is important. That's why Geico helps make it easy to save on homeowners insurance. Because home is more than just a place. Home is where you build a giant pillow fort in your living room. And when people ask why you have a pillow fort in your living room, you say it's for your dog. And when they ask, well, what kind? You say, chocolate lab. And weave a web of lies that's almost as intricate as the crown molding in Fort Pillow. The Geico Insurance Agency could help protect the pillow-soft fortress you call home. Call Geico and see how easy it is to switch and save on homeowners insurance.
Guess what?
You're in the middle of the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
Damn it, I mean it! Protect your engine this winter. Use Pennzoil synthetic motor oil made from natural gas, not crude oil. Let's go to the phones for the first time. Final week with Stephen A. Let's go to Mike. You're live with Stephen A. What's up, Mike?
Hey, Stephen, this is Mike, man. Big, huge fan of yours forever. I saw on Twitter that this week was the last week. I wanted to call in and say hey to you. And, loved your Bama Cuts episode and support for my great alma mater. Mm-hmm. But, hey, man, can you explain something to me?
Go ahead.
I've been a Jags fan, and I don't want to take away from the stuff tonight or the Super Bowl coming up. Mm-hmm. But I've been a Jags fan since I moved there. I'm in the Navy in 2014. I was on the field when they picked Dante Fowler over Amari Cooper. Mm-hmm. Can you explain to me how Mr. David Caldwell still has a job with the Jacksonville Jaguars?
I don't know that. I think the only explanation for it is that they surrendered some power or gave some power to Tom Coughlin, former 2-time Super Bowl champion, coach with the New York Giants, former head coach for Jacksonville before he had arrived in New York, who was running things at VP of football operations. He is now gone. I respect the hell out of Tom Coughlin, but he deserved to be gone. You know what? You can be old school all you want to because he's no spring chicken, and we get all of that. But you can't be so dogged and dogmatic in your approach that you're refusing to adapt to a different time and a different age. If you're going to be stuck in your ways to the point where your presentation, your inability to communicate and really cultivate a relationship with the modern day player, if that's going to be so evident, then have the decency to retire. Why is it that other people have to lose their jobs? Why do they have to be inconvenienced? Why do they have to be stymied from performing at peak conditions just because they don't like you? That's why Jalen Ramsey wanted out. He didn't want to play under Tom Coughlin. So to me, if you're Shad Khan, the owner for the Jacksonville Jaguars, you got rid of Tom Coughlin too late. You should have got rid of him when players were complaining about him. Because in Tom Coughlin's world, if you're 5 minutes early, you're late. Guys don't, you got fined. They got fined more than anybody. They got fined. The players in Jacksonville got fined so much that the Players Association got involved because so much money was being taken out of their pocket by Tom Coughlin. You can't have somebody like that running football operations in the modern day era. And Shad Khan, shame on him for not knowing better sooner. So I would tell you, David Caldwell, I don't know what his position is. I don't know what he's doing specifically with the Jacksonville Jaguars. And that might be the reason he still has his job, because somebody else was given the responsibility, that meaning Tom Coughlin. And because Tom Coughlin was the one swinging the hammer, that's why he's the one that's gone. I never heard a player complaining about David Caldwell. I didn't even hear them complaining about Doug Maroney, who was kept on as the head coach. They complained about Tom Coughlin. And for some reason, he was kept. And now he's gone. So better times are ahead. Appreciate the call. Thank you so much. Appreciate the love. 888-SAY-ESPN. That's 888-729-3776 again. I'll still be around. I'll still be omnipotent to some degree. I'll be around. You'll be seeing me and hearing me on the radio as well as television. But this is my last week hosting the Stephen A. Smith Show. So I'm here all week long. Can't wait to take more of your phone calls. But that'll be after I talk to my man Paul Finebaum, the mouth of the South, Mr. SEC himself. He's up next with yours truly, right here on the Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio, ESPN News. Wonder who he's going to pick tonight.
This is the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
I'm Stephen A. Welcome to hour number 2 of the Stephen A. Smith Show. Coming at you as I love to do over the airwaves of ESPN Radio and ESPN News. 1 to 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. 250 plus markets across the United States of America. Check your AM, FM listing nearest you, plus ESPN Radio on Sirius XM, Channel 80, plus ESPN Radio simulcast over the live national television airwaves of ESPN News. If you love Nature Valley sweet and salty bars, you'll love the new sweet and salty minis. Smaller size. And at 100 calories, has never been so sweet. Who will raise the trophy, by the way? Find out tonight. The College Football Playoff National Championship presented by AT&T. Coverage begins at 6:30 p.m. Eastern on ESPN Radio and, of course, the ESPN app. On the line with us right now, we saw him this morning. He stood on a balcony with a crown on his head, wearing a cape. He was called King Finebaum for about an hour or so. He is the mouth of the South. He does have his own nationally syndicated radio show. He's Mr. SEC as far as I'm concerned, Mr. Football. Brilliant as he is, knowing the game the way that he does, loves to disagree with me. I personally think he does it just to mess with me because it's impossible for him to disagree with me. But he tries. Talk about the one and only Paul Finebaum. He's on the line with us right now. Paul, how are you, sir?
Stephen, I disagree with you only out of love and great reverence because nobody thinks more of you than I do. So it's just for fun, and I can get away with it. Most people can't because you would strike them dead and destroy their career.
I would do no such thing. Paul, this is my last week hosting my radio show. I'll still be contributing and what have you, but this is my last week hosting my radio show, so it's only appropriate that I start off the week having you as my guest, buddy. I love you. I always appreciate everything that you've done for this show, so I wanted to thank you personally for coming on with me today, my man. I really wanted to take some moment.
Well, thank you, and listen, I know you got a lot in your life, but I speak for millions of people around this country. We are going to miss you because you're fantastic on every platform, but radio is so unique because you have the time to go on issues that, unfortunately, even on television, you only have 2 hours a day.
Yeah. Paul, let's get into this college football. You're right about that. Let's get into this national championship game tonight. LSU going up against Clemson. Are you surprised that either of these teams are here playing for the national championship tonight?
Well, I guess if we had gone back to July, I would have said I didn't think LSU would be here. Listen, we knew Clemson was going to be here. That was preordained. We spent so much time in the off season, Stephen and I, talking about another Clemson-Alabama matchup that we overlooked LSU. I mean, you knew LSU would be good, but I could not have taken a gamble on Ed Orgeron being undefeated and a perfect record. And equally, I couldn't say that
that Joe Burrow was. I'll never forget in July, we were at the SEC Media Days and doing all these aimless lists that nobody cares about. And we were talking about the top 3 quarterbacks in the SEC, and I listed Burrow as my third. And these former players looked at me like, are you out of your mind? I mean, he really isn't that great. And that's where Joe Burrow was. He was good, not great. And how he became the best player in college football remains not a mystery because we've watched it over 14 to 18 weeks. But it has been fascinating to see. You knew Trevor Lawrence was great. You didn't know Joe Burrow was.
Well, I got to tell you, Paul, I'm surprised, and I'd really like to be enlightened about, for you to highlight for us what's the difference specifically between Joe Burrow last year and Joe Burrow this year. What exactly did you see that you weren't seeing a year ago?
Well, part of it is as basic as fundamentals. When Joe Brady came in, he literally started with the quarterback to the receiver tandem as if they had never played football again. He taught them how to catch the ball. They spent hours and hours, especially the receivers, just learning the basic fundamentals. And I've had players on that LSU team tell me, we thought we knew everything, but in the end, we really didn't know anything. They started with that, and suddenly Burrow was feeling more comfortable. He has some all-world receivers there, as you know, but things just were a little bit off. I think the game plan was somewhat antediluvian. Not to be critical of Steve Ensminger, who's probably as responsible for anyone. He's the offensive coordinator, for buying into Joe Brady. For those who haven't heard the story, Joe Brady 3 years ago was a GA under Joe Moorhead and Franklin at Penn State. Mm-hmm. Last year he was working in New Orleans for Drew with Drew Brees and Sean Payton, and his job was not very important. Orgeron brought him in just for a weekend of learning, and he bought in. And the guy's was not even 30 years old, so to give him the keys to this type of car was really fantastic. But that's where it started. And Burrow just became, he went from a good player to a great player, and there's a tremendous difference, Stephen, as you see every single Sunday in the NFL.
Paul Finebaum right here with Stephen A., ESPN Radio, ESPN News. Let's go to the weapons that are available to both Trevor Lawrence for the quarterback for Clemson and obviously Joe Burrow for LSU. We look at, especially in the case of this kid Ross for Clemson, who's 1,000-yard receiving, whatever, put on an absolute show last year in the national championship game against Alabama. Talk to me about the weapons both quarterbacks have available to them and how that resonates in your mind.
Yeah, what's interesting about Ross, he comes from the state of Alabama, and he slipped away primarily from Auburn, more so than even Alabama. But that just shows the recruiting prowess of Dabo Swinney, who right now has the best class in the country. On the other side, and he's got a couple of more weapons, too. I don't want to stop at him, but he's the most prominent. Mm-hmm. LSU has them up and down the field. And what was interesting, a new one emerged in the Oklahoma game. Thaddeus Moss, Randy Moss's son, who started his career, Stephen A., at NC State.
Wow.
Sounds familiar. Randy Moss started his career at Florida State or Notre Dame. I can't remember. He actually was at a couple of places and then ended up at Marshall to become one of the great receivers in NFL, college and NFL history. So the weapons are all there. Both have tremendous running backs too. For LSU, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, who was limited. He had a hamstring in the Oklahoma game. Not that they needed him in that game, but to me the most interesting player is Travis Etienne, who's from Louisiana, who got away from LSU because the previous staff had not done a good job in locking him down, and Orgeron went in at the end. They were trying to get somebody else, and he slipped away. And the idea of a kid from South Louisiana getting out of here and now could be a factor in the national championship game in New Orleans is priceless.
It's interesting because I'm looking at Joe Burrow and then I'm seeing guys like Jamar Chase. He's got 1,559 receiving yards, averaging about 20 yards a carry. He's been a stud. Justin Jefferson is no joke. He's got 1,434 yards and 102 receptions, 27 more receptions than Jamar Chase as well. And we can't ignore Terrence Marshall Jr., etc. When you look at these receiving weapons, how elite are they for Joe Burrow?
They are pretty good, and I say that jokingly because we thought, Stephen A., this year, nobody has or has ever had a group of receivers like Nick Saban and Tua Tagovailoa, and they were amazing. You know that. But this group wasn't really far behind, and you could quibble whether they were but they were behind at all. But I think in the end, it's hard to argue with what Alabama had. But this is 1A. This is 1B to that 1A, and it's just up and down the field from the probably the thing that surprised me the most was the offensive line. They were supposed to be good, not elite, and they were. It's one of these rare things that happens in college football where almost everything, it's the opposite of Murphy's Law, where everything that can go wrong does go wrong.
Right.
In this case, everything that could go right did go right for LSU. And it's a confluence of things. But even as LSU was moving along, they beat Texas early on. They beat Florida in a heavyweight battle. They beat Auburn in a really close game. There was still some doubt about whether they could handle Alabama. And then what happened? Tua Tagovailoa gets hurt 2 weeks before, and he rushes back. He's good in the game, but he's not great early on. And that was the difference. And what's even more interesting than that, Stephen A., is that LSU's defense was a problem early on. They were banged up. They were not cohesive. But down the stretch, people can throw up defensive numbers, and that's fine. But you really have to look at the last 2 or 3 weeks of the season and the playoffs when LSU's defense finally became elite under Dave Aranda, who, with Brent Venables, the coordinator at Clemson, are considered the two best coordinators in the entire country.
Paul Finebaum, I remember I was being a bit critical about LSU's defense. I saw them give up a 441 to a hobbled Tua Tagovailoa for Alabama. I saw them give up 38 points on at least 2 other occasions. But you reminded me that their defense stepped up as the season waned. Your thoughts about what you're seeing from LSU's defense now and how effective you anticipate they may be against the Clemson Tigers tonight?
I think they'll be very effective. Go back to the end of the year when they played Texas A&M, and it was somewhat of a revenge game. LSU had lost the game the previous year, and I remember the 5 overtime game, or maybe it was 7 overtimes. I can't remember. It was so ridiculous. They destroyed Texas A&M, and I am not trying to put Texas A&M up on a pedestal. I know they have 5 losses against some of the best competition in the country, but they eviscerated this team in a way that was just downright scary. They did the same thing against a flawed Georgia team in the SEC championship game. I say a flawed team; they were banged up, but they were still the number 4 team in the country. Mm-hmm. And then we all know what happened. We talk about Joe Burrow, 7 touchdowns, maybe the most perfect first half in college football history. But Jalen Hurts, he didn't know where he was by the third quarter of that game. I mean, he was literally punch drunk from the beating he was taking from that LSU defense. So that's what I focus on. I don't think they can shut down all the names that you've already mentioned, and I think Trevor Lawrence is truly one of the money quarterbacks in college football history. His record speaks for that, and he's playing much better than he was in the first half as well. He was pressing. I don't know what he was trying to do. He was trying to be Drew Brees and Aaron Rodgers and Patrick Mahomes all wrapped into one the first 5 or 6 weeks. He was trying to I think he was bored, Stephen A. So he was trying to make impossible throws. And he was mortal. But finally, when it really mattered, when the season was determined, he was extraordinary down the stretch. And the idea that he wasn't in New York for the Heisman is a footnote in history that I think we'll be talking about for a long time.
Paul Finebaum right here with Stephen A., ESPN Radio, ESPN News. Paul, I don't recall, and you would know better than me, as much as we've seen Clemson face adverse circumstances and answer the call, as much as Dabo Swinney, the 2-time championship coach for Clemson, has been complaining about the lack of respect or things of that nature, shockingly, the one thing I haven't heard anybody mention is the clear home field advantage that LSU has in this particular game. I mean, this is Louisiana. They're in New Orleans. I would tell you that, 9-1, it's LSU compared to Clemson in terms of that crowd. How much of a factor, if any at all, do you anticipate that will be? And shocked at all that you haven't heard that brought up by too many people?
It could be a big factor. And Stephen A., let me say that you can go to some states like Alabama and it's maybe 60-40. In Louisiana, it's 100% for the LSU Tigers. I mean, they are on the same level as the Saints. They are this state's team. And I lived in Northwest Louisiana early in my career. That's Cowboys country. So even then, you can't find anyone, even if they went to another school, who doesn't love the LSU Tigers. And the Superdome is an old building, but it is loud. And I've talked to many players, including Marcus Spears, about when coming in here as the road team, and it's deafening. I've covered a couple of national championship games with LSU in this building, and it's unlike any other place. Where last year in Santa Clara, it's an open air stadium. You're not going to get that here. Forget Trevor Lawrence. Joe Burrow's not going to be able to hear himself in this building, and I do think that could be a factor in the three previous national championship games that LSU has played in the Superdome. They won the first two, one under Les Miles, one under Nick Saban, and then the final one, it was Les Miles versus Nick Saban in that 2011 game, which Saban, they just wiped them out because LSU had no quarterback play. But the crowd kept them in the game at least until halftime, and then the team was so inept it really didn't make any difference.
Do you anticipate, when you look at this game and you see Clemson, they're the reigning defending national champions, a lot of their star players that performed last year, they're still here. Etienne is still here. Trevor Lawrence is still here. Justin Ross is still here, etc. How much of a factor do you expect that to have, particularly when you're essentially playing a road game for the national title?
I think it helps. There's no question that having been down this road, having been through all that. But on the other hand, Stephen A., what has LSU not gone through this year? They won on the road in Austin, Texas. They went to Alabama. I mean, I don't. I mean, that you know what I'm talking about there. I mean, that's a mouthful to go into that atmosphere with the president of the United States in the stands and everything that comes with a game of the century. They went to the SEC game. They went back to the same building. So they have been down this road before. Yes, I know it feels a little bit differently tonight because it's the final Monday night of the season, but I don't see that affecting the LSU team. Yeah, a little bit of an advantage maybe for Clemson's players, but not much of one. I think that's a moot point.
So, Paul Finebaum, prediction for tonight's national championship game between Clemson and LSU, both Tigers. Your thoughts?
I see it as a really good game, and I'm not an odds maker. I see LSU winning the game. I think they're in a position but they have to play well early, Stephen A. We know that Clemson answered the call. I mean, their comeback against Ohio State is the single best performance of the year I've witnessed. LSU cannot make mistakes. We can't see a replay of Saturday night with the Baltimore Ravens. That would be something I can't answer. How would they handle that adversity? Because quite frankly, they've never had that adversity all year. They have been dominant. They have been overwhelming, but I still think they have too much going for them. And short of a bad beginning, I see this as a night that LSU will celebrate a championship.
Paul Finebaum, we're going to close out your appearance on the Stephen A. Smith Show with yours truly by saying this. We disagree one last time. I'm picking Clemson to win 44-41.
Listen, if we agreed on everything, it wouldn't be fun. I hope we keep disagreeing for a long time.
Same here, buddy. I'll see you soon, all right? You take it easy.
Love you, Stephen A.
Love you too, man. The one and only Paul Finebaum right here with Stephen A. ESPN Radio, ESPN News 888-SAY, ESPN is 888-729-3776. Some breaking news is scheduled to come down at the top of the hour. I already got wind of it. It's all over the emails at ESPN and beyond, according to our very own Jeff Passan, and MLB insider extraordinaire. The Houston Astros, you remember, that they were accused of and essentially caught cheating per se, stealing signals, using technologies to do such things during the 2017 World Series, their World Series championship that they had ultimately won. The Houston Astros GM, Jeff Luhnow, how do you pronounce his name? Luhnow, Lucknow or Luhnow. Nevertheless, the Astros GM and manager A.J. Hinch have been suspended for 1 year after an MLB investigation found the team used technology to cheat
during its World Series winning 2017 season. Sources familiar with the punishment tells our very own Jeff Passan. Let me say this to you. I kind of think it's excessive. Ladies and gentlemen, this is baseball that we're talking about here. Understand something. And I'm not going to steal credit because my boy Jeff, there are two people. I don't know anybody. I mean, of course, the Tim Kirkjian and Buster Olneys and the Jeff Passons of the world, fine. But in terms of outside this business, I don't know too many people that have known more baseball than my daddy, God rest his soul, and my boy Jeff Brown in California. I don't know two human beings outside of the business that knows more baseball than them. And we've talked about stuff like this over many, many years. And my boy Jeff was just texting me about this because I don't want to take any credit. I don't know baseball like he does. This guy pointed out, wait a minute here. Pitchers and catchers control the game. They notice all of these things. They pick up on people picking up their signals and things of that nature. They change calls. They do all of this stuff. Pitchers and catchers control the games. So you can try to cheat to gain your kind of advantage, etc. But chances are, if you're going up against a baseball team, they're going to pick up on you picking up on their habits. Not to mention the fact that you got a first base coach that's calling for somebody to steal. You got a third base coach that's calling signals, et cetera, et cetera. You trying to tell me there aren't opposing bench coaches? There aren't opposing managers that see habits and look for certain things to gain some kind of advantage? It's damn near part of the game. So I'm not going to sit up there and completely absolve Houston because clearly if the MLB is taking this stance, there's some extracurricular kind of activity when it comes to the cheating or looking for an unfair advantage that they've exercised that was a bit extreme compared to others, but a whole year. You got people using pine tar for pitches. You got signals being stolen. You got steroids and amphetamines and everything else. All of this stuff we talk about in the world of sports practically originated in baseball. We've been dealing with this for decades. And suddenly, we're going to sit up there and bring down the hammer on them? My boy Jeff wrote to me, way too much. Penalty too stiff. If it were that blatant, the opposing team should have caught on. 20 games for Hinch would be fine with me. Players win and lose on the field. That's according to my boy Jeff Brown. You understand? He's the anti-champ. My boy Champ with basketball. Champ's problem is he think he invented basketball. You understand? He thinks he's James Naismith. That's his problem. And anybody who disagrees with him, you ain't got no heart. You ain't got no courage. You don't need to be talking to sport. That's how emotional Champ gets. That's why I can't tolerate him sometimes. I've blocked him about 10 times on my show, but I love him because he's my boy, so I forgive him. But my God, he's a pain in the you know what. Jeff is far more humble. Jeff sit up there and he just gives his humble opinion. And then he goes home. This is my boy Jeff, ladies and gentlemen. My boy Jeff Brown in California. True story. This brother is in his pajamas in footy at 7 p.m. I don't think he's seen darkness unless the sun goes down early. That's how comfortable he is. Happily married for 27 years. 2 beautiful children. I'm their goddaddy, Uncle Steve. And this dude right here, he's in his pajamas and footies by 7 p.m. So this brother's watching baseball on the East Coast, okay? So he knows all of this stuff. So he continues. Remember, pitchers and catchers change signs throughout the games because players pay attention. It's part of the game. The 20 to 50 game suspension is valid to preserve the principles of the game because I brought that up to him. And of course, he's disappointed that Hinch and Cora would do this for the Red Sox. You know what I'm saying? Because both of them being accused of it. That's not good. Most pitchers tip their pitchers with their gloves. This is all my boy Jeff. Like I said, he knows his baseball now. And I agree with him. I mean, all right, you want to send a message? All right, suspend them. It's 162 games. Suspend them for, 50 games. But the whole season, stop. That's baseball. It's almost the aftermath of the Me Too movement when you had a whole bunch of people looking and of course, a lot of these suspensions, punishments, dismissals, etc. were more than valid. But you have people out there since that era began looking for any excuse for folks to lose their jobs. And it could be over anything. And now here we are in a entirely different scenario when we're looking at baseball and baseball sitting up there and they want to be to the extreme because they don't want to be seen as getting to the party late. And so they're going to take the position that they took. I think it's a bit extreme. Now, Me Too is different because, again, most of those people deserve to be suspended or fired. Some of the violations that folks have committed, heinous acts of criminality as far as I'm concerned, some of those situations are obviously valid. Some are questionable. But with this, which has nothing to do with such a thing, you got baseball. A whole year? A whole year in baseball? Really? They stealing signals. They're using technologies. They're using technology to do what they always do. They're always looking to steal signals. They're always looking for some kind of unfair advantage. In baseball, remember George Brett with the bat? Too much, was it pine tar on the bat? Was that what it was? You know what pitchers were doing with the balls. You got baseball being accused of juicing the balls to improve the game with home runs. But suddenly a manager deserves to be suspended for the whole year. Come on, y'all. Come on now. Baseball's a bit too extreme with this one. I agree with my boy Jeff Brown. It don't need to be a whole season. 50 games would have sufficed. But then again, I really don't care. If I'm being totally honest. I'm in a football mood. I just mentioned baseball because I have an obligation because it's news. But I really don't give a damn about baseball until October. I'll be the first to admit it. Only time I care about baseball other than October is when Tim Kirkjian or Buster Olney or Jeff Passan comes on with me. Outside of that, I give a damn. You know, I care about my Yankees. But the overall sport of baseball, I couldn't even tell you who the manager of the Blue Jays is. I wouldn't know. He's in Canada. What do I care? I admit it. 888-SAY-ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. You're listening live to Stephen A. ESPN Radio, ESPN News. Back with your calls and more in a minute. By the way, when it comes to hiring, you don't have time to waste. You need to get to your short list of qualified candidates fast. That's why you need Indeed.com. Post a job in minutes, set of screening questions based on your job requirements, then zero in on qualified candidates using an intuitive online dashboard. Your time is precious, so let Indeed help you get to your short list of qualified candidates and discover why more than 3 million businesses use Indeed for hiring. Post a job today at Indeed.com/hire. That's Indeed.com/hire.
This human resources professional is a rock star thanks to Kronos. And this is her hype song.
I'm the spark before the fire. I'm the power in the train.
Have HR, payroll, talent, and time.
I'm the dream and you should know that.
Now we're engaging all the best people.
Kronos, HR solutions for the modern workforce and the people who support them. Learn more at Kronos.com/HR swagger.
Let's face it, most New Year's resolutions are hard to keep. Get more exercise, save more money. Well, here's a resolution that's easy to keep. Don't waste time going to the post office. Use Stamps.com instead. Stamps.com brings all the services of the post office to you. Plus, Stamps.com gives you something you can't get at the post office. Big discounts on postage, like 5 cents off every first-class stamp and up to 40% off priority mail. Print official U.S. postage from your computer for any letter, package, or class of mail anywhere you want to send. Once your mail is ready, just hand it to your mail carrier or drop it in a mailbox. It's that simple. No wonder over 700,000 small businesses already use Stamps.com. So, give yourself a resolution you can actually keep this year. Save time and money with Stamps.com. Right now, get a special offer that includes a 4-week trial, plus free postage and digital scale, with no long-term commitments and no risk. That's Stamps.com. Click on the microphone at the top of the homepage and type in code FAN. Stamps.com. Promo code FAN. Stamps.com. Never go to the post office again.
You're listening to the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance, making it easy to bundle your home and your car insurance. Also, tune into ESPN Daily Podcast, bringing you a deep dive into a single story from one of ESPN's hundreds of reporters, presented by Indeed. Download, subscribe, and review ESPN Daily, available wherever you enjoy your podcast. There's more to that MLB story that I talked about, more news. You can go ahead and read it online. I'm not going to get into any of the particulars. Obviously, A.J. Hinch and the Astros had been warned on numerous occasions, which is why the MLB came down with a heavy hand. Although one could argue, if you warned them several times, that means you were aware of it at a significantly earlier than you let on. Which means that if you're baseball, you're complicit. Because why didn't you address this earlier? Why did you wait? Why is it that you warned them, but they still exercise this during a World Series. And if Cora's involved, I do believe the Boston Red Sox won the World Series the next year. So who's to say that's not when he did it? So if that's the case, why in the hell didn't you address it with a heavy hand earlier so somebody could not have potentially compromised the integrity of the game? Or dare I say, win a World Series by doing so? If you're Major League Baseball, why didn't you handle this? Just a thought. Back to football real quick before I get to the calls. My very last week hosting this show solo, the Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio, ESPN News. Even though I will be around and First Take will be around over the airways from 1 to 3 p.m. Eastern Time. 10 and 12 noon Pacific. Talking football. Ladies and gentlemen, let me say this about Lamar Jackson of the Baltimore Ravens. He's the league MVP. He's going to win that award. He was absolutely fabulous during the regular season. He was not sensational Saturday night. Tennessee Titans' game plan to come into the game early was do everything we could to get out to an early lead. Then after that, give the damn ball to Derrick Henry. Play smash mouth football. And see what Lamar Jackson does then, playing from behind. Because if you're playing from behind, you're definitely going to look to throw the football more than run it. Because if you throw incomplete passes, it stops the stops the clock. But if you run the football, even though you're moving the chains, clock is still running. Here's the reality of the situation. As I said on First Take earlier this morning, there is a difference between a running quarterback and a quarterback who can run. Lamar Jackson, despite completing 66% of his passes, vastly improving, showing tremendous promise, and giving us every reason to rave about him the way that we have this year, is still considered a running quarterback. He ran for 143 yards on Saturday. But when it came time to stand in that pocket and fling that football, even though he threw some dimes, the reality is that he has a long way to go. Now juxtapose that to Patrick Mahomes in Kansas City. He ran with the football, sure. Did you see him fling that football yesterday? Did you see how petrified the Houston Texans looked? Did you see how they looked like they wanted to run out of town after the first quarter? Did you see Bill O'Brien going forward on a 4th and 1 because he thought that he had a first down, and when we realized he didn't have a first down, they was ill-equipped to do but so much with it. He tried to fake a punt. That didn't work. He called a bogus 4th and 1 play. That didn't work. On another occasion, he had to be convinced by Deshaun Watson to go for it on 4th and 1. And Romeo Crennel. Look, you don't hear anybody more than me bloviating about the absence of African Americans being head coaches in the National Football League. Cleveland needed a head coach. They hired a white guy. Giants needed a head coach. They hired a white guy. Cowboys needed a coach. They hired a white guy. Redskins hired a minority in Ron Rivera. And you had one other opening that escapes my mind for some reason right now. I just totally forgot. Carolina Panthers. Rule. Not only do you give a college coach who ain't Saban, who ain't Urban Meyer, who ain't Dabo Swinney, who ain't even Lincoln Riley, not only do you give a college coach $60 million over 7 years, you paid Baylor $6 million to get him out of his contract to give him the $60 million. I mean, you can't make this up. But somehow a black man can't get a head coaching job. Even though Eric Bieniemy, with that high-powered offense in Kansas City, was sitting there calling plays yesterday, scoring 41 unanswered points. Can't get a job. I say all of that to say this, in the interest of fairness. You don't see me negating to bring up how Romeo Crennel may not deserve his job as defensive coordinator in Houston any longer, do you? I'm about results and fairness. You're a black man, you deserve the opportunity if you worked your way through it. But if you don't get it done once you get that opportunity, very simple. Give a damn. You don't get it done, you don't get it done. But I see a whole bunch of white coaches ain't getting it done. They're getting 1 opportunity, 2 opportunities, 3 opportunities. Hiring your sons. Kyle Shanahan was a ball boy. Now he's a great coach, make no mistake about it. But you think it wasn't helped by the fact that he was a ball boy for his daddy? Does Mike Tomlin have a kid that's working for the Pittsburgh Steelers? When Romeo Crennel was the head coach in Kansas City, did he have a kid working for him? Huh? Does Anthony Lynn have his son working for the Chargers? Huh? I mean, nepotism at its best. But I digress. Grandma Joyce, you live with Stephen A. How are you?
Hey, Stephen A.
Yes, how are you?
I'm doing fine. Is this Stephen A?
This is me, ma'am. You called into the show. Yes, it is me.
Oh,
yes.
All right. Now listen. Now this is your last week, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, why is it your last week?
Because I'm doing. No, ma'am. It's not ESPN.
Okay, I didn't know whether I was going to have to get a petition or not. Now.
No, things are going very, very well for me. First Take's number one.
Okay.
And I'll be doing my own NBA show weekly. And on top of it all, I'll be doing stuff. I'll be behind the scenes, helping to produce content for ESPN Plus and Disney Plus. That is why.
Oh, okay. I didn't know I was going, after 84 years, if I'm going to have to come out of retirement and get busy.
Let me assure you, ESPN is not happy that I'm leaving radio.
Oh, okay.
You know, they're not happy about it. That's why I'm still going to be contributing. They didn't want me to leave. This is not their decision. They knew there were other things that I wanted to do, but I just couldn't do everything because I wanted to do everything plus radio. But there's only so many hours in a day, and that's the reason.
Oh, okay. Now listen, if you're
I'm trying to be rich.
And if you're ever in Cleveland, and I'm still above ground at 84, try to give me a call. I know you're so busy, but I sure would like to see you because you're my number one.
I promise you, if I come to Cleveland, you'll get a call.
You're my number one. I'm telling you, I miss Judge Judy, all the judges just to watch you.
Well, thank you so much. I love Judge Judy now. I mean, Judge Judy and Dr. Phil and my brother Steve Harvey. Don't miss those shows. Those are special shows, okay?
If you're on, they come second.
Okay.
Now listen, what is the Lakers thinking about? First of all, Kyle Kuzma's trainer. I wrote in that he should stick to training and not tell Kyle Kuzma what to do and how to do it.
Well, listen, Grandma Joyce, I really have to run because I'm running out of time. But let me say this. There's no reason to complain about the Lakers right now. They got the second best record in basketball and the best record in the West. They'll be just fine. Kyle Kuzma, I'm more concerned by that hairdo he's wearing right now. And that gothic look under his eyes and stuff. It's like he put makeup under his eyes to make him look like the guy, like he's the Joker fighting Batman in Gotham City or something. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know what's going on with him, but that's just me. But I got love for Kyle Kuzma, and I think he's a great third option, and I think they're going to be just fine. I've got to run, Grandma Joyce. I appreciate the call so much. Thank you. 888. You take care of yourself. 888, say ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. Back with your calls to close out the show in a minute with Stephen A. ESPN Radio, ESPN News.
Hey, I'm Andy. If you don't know me, it's probably because I'm not famous. But I did start a men's grooming company called Harry's. The idea for Harry's came out of a frustrating experience I had buying razor blades. Most brands were overpriced, overdesigned, and out of touch. At Harry's, our approach is simple. Here's our secret. We make sharp, durable blades and sell them at honest prices for as low as $2 each. We care about quality so much that we do some crazy things, like buy a world-class German blade factory. Obsessing over every detail means we're confident in offering a 100% quality guarantee. Millions of guys have already made the switch to Harry's, so thank you if you're one of them. And if you're not, we hope you give us a try with this special offer. Get a Harry starter set with a 5-blade razor, weighted handle, shave gel, and a travel cover, all for just $3 plus free shipping. Just go to harrys.com and enter 8000 at checkout. That's harrys.com, code 8000. Enjoy.
Hello, everybody. You're looking live at Fansville, a college football utopia.
Fansville.
Where the rivers flow with ice-cold Dr. Pepper.
Delicious.
Where the air smells of fresh-cut grass, artificial turf, and smoked meats.
Kielbasa.
Where the radio only plays marching bands. And being able to read the defense is more important than being able to read.
Just kidding. Stay in school.
But what makes Fansville truly special are the people who call it home field.
The fans.
The type of people who tailgate before the tailgate.
Pass the Dr. Pepper.
Who aren't afraid to shout, "My grandma could have made that kick." because that's the honest truth.
She's 90.
Passionate fans bound by loyalty, tradition, and the sweet, sweet nectar of the college football gods.
Dr. Pepper.
Get a taste of Fansville this fall during a college football game near you. Dr. Pepper, the official drink of Fansville. Grab some today.
Guess what?
You're in the middle of the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
Damn it, I mean it! Download the Vivid Seats app and enter promo code ESPN25 at checkout to get 10% off your next order. Don't buy just any seat. Get a Vivid Seat. Before we get on out of here for the day, let's go to stuff real quick. Desmond, you're live with Stephen A. Real quick, Des, go.
Hey, Stephen A., do you think the criticism of Lamar Jackson is fair, considering the fact that he doesn't have an offense like Pat Mahomes or Drew Brees, where he doesn't have a stud like a Michael Thomas at wide out in
I think it's fair because I don't hear anyone crucifying him. It's not like they're saying he can't play or whatever. What they're saying is whatever you didn't have wasn't enough to prevent you from playing like an MVP all season long. So why be it that that's not the case come playoff time? He's 0-2 in playoff competition on the NFL level. Until he wins a game playing the way that he plays, that's going to be a criticism because people are going to question it. He didn't play awful, but the bottom line is the numbers in terms of 365 yards passing and stuff like that is a bit deceptive because he threw the ball 59 times, and nobody expects to win with Lamar Jackson throwing the ball 59 times. I got to run. I appreciate the call. Oscar, you're live with Stephen A. Real quick, go.
Hey, Stephen A., I just want to say real quick. So you're telling me Lundhouse knew, Hinch knew, but yet Crane didn't know about what's going on? They've been warned before.
I'm not telling you anything. I'm not telling you anything other than the decision that came down by Major League Baseball.
I understand. I mean, there's Major League Baseball saying that. I apologize. Well, is that what they're saying, that the owner Crane did not know?
It's hard to decipher that. I mean, the bottom line is it seems like Corver's going to get punished. AJ Hinch has been punished. Lunau's been punished. You can make the argument about Crane, but the reality of the situation is it appears that Major League Baseball is saying we've warned you on numerous occasions. Excuse me. If you've warned them on numerous occasions, then why did a punishment come down just now? How come it didn't come down before they won a World Series championship?
Yep.
Since you've been all over this, why did you wait for them to win a championship to bring all of these things into question? Yep. That, to me, is the peak. It's not about an individual. It's about Major League Baseball. It's about Manfred and the crew. Why is it that if you indeed want to come down with a 1-year punishment, which seems a bit stiff, it's emanating from the fact that you had been warning them. Then why didn't you punish them earlier? I'll holler at y'all tomorrow. Until then, peace and love.